At this time, we'll begin. Dr. Rollins Fells, Dr. Calverick, and members of the school board. March is Music in Our Schools Month. Caroline County Public Schools is fortunate to have talented music teachers as well as talented students. Tonight, we highlight that talent with performances from Caroline High School and Caroline Middle School students. Our high school ensemble will be led by Ms. Karen Mott. Our middle school ensemble will be led by Mr. Raymer Stevens. After the performances, we will recognize our students who participated in the Virginia Tech Honors Band. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. David Fielding. I am the Director of Chorus and Orchestra here at Caroline Middle School. This is the Caroline Middle School Chorus, couple grades here. We will be singing Follow Your Dream by Mary Donnelly with special soloist Leanne Toy. Enjoy.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Mott. I am the music director at Caroline High School. It's so funny being here because I was middle school for so many years. It's almost like homecoming. But on stage tonight is our jazz ensemble, and they're going to be performing two pieces for you tonight. One's by Ryan Gwynn, and then Rutabaga Ramble by Michael Sweeney, featuring soloist Julius Mercer on the alto saxophone.
Dr. Rollins Fels, Dr. Calveric, and members of the school board. Caroline County Public Schools is proud to have students that exemplify excellence. 2 of our students participated in the Virginia Tech Honor Band. At this time, we would like to recognize Kaylee White and Liani Albuterol. Please come forth. Do you want me to take a picture? This mine. Yeah. Thank you for supporting music in our schools month. And at this time, we will transition to our regular school board meeting. Thank you again.
School board members, CCPS families, students, staff, and the Caroline County community. I, Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, Chair of the Board, would like to call the March 14th, 2022 school board meeting to order. It is my privilege to welcome those attending in person at Caroline Middle School, as well as those who are viewing on our CCPS YouTube channel. Each provides an avenue for you to receive information, heightened education, awareness, and involvement. The school board is grateful for your attendance as we continue to move our school division in a forward direction as #OneCaroline. Again, welcome to the CCPS school board meeting. This meeting is now in order. I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Adam Swatton, Student School Board Representative. Mrs. Nancy Carson, representing the Mattaponi District. Mr. Sean Kelly, representing the Madison District. Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, representing the Reedy Church District. Dr. Sarah Calverick, Superintendent of Schools. Mr. George Spalding, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. John Copeland, representing the Western Caroline District. Mr. Calvin Taylor, representing the Port Royal District. And I am Lisa Stevens, Clerk of the Board. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Spalding to please lead us in the invocation, followed immediately by our Caroline High School basketball team, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Many blessings that you give to us each day of our lives, Lord. Be with us now that we make the right decisions. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding, and thank you to our Caroline High School basketball team and our coaches who are present this evening as well. Good evening. I wanted to acknowledge you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the March 14th, 2022 agenda.
So moved. Second.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. I have Mr. Kelly with the motion, Mr. Copeland with the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Copeland.
Aye.
Mrs. Carson.
Aye.
Mr. Spalding.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells.
Aye, the motion carries. Our March 14th meeting agenda is approved. We will now have our Pathways 2022 Spotlight, where we will have our wows for our school division. It is a moment to celebrate our journey through Pathways 2022 and Goal 2. And at this time, I'd ask Andrea Ross and Dr. Herb Monroe to please come forward with our presentation for this evening.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calverick. It is a plum pleasing pleasure for Mrs. Ross and I to share wow moments that were created, emerged, and experienced along our 5-year journey through Pathways 2022. Our strategic plan has provided Caroline County public schools with a clear vision for the future and a blueprint for excellence in education. Tonight we say wow for wins, opportunities, and world-class achievements that have served as evidence and artifacts of growth for our school division. So at this time, I'm going to call Mrs. Ross to take it away.
Our focus is on Goal 2, School and Community Relationships, which encompasses Objective 2.1, Family and Community Engagement, Objective 2.2, Staff and Student Relationships, and Objective 2.3, Community and Business Partnerships. Starting off with Objective 2.1, Family and Community Engagement, we will take a look at how CCPS has increased opportunities for stakeholder involvement focused on academic growth and student achievement over the past 5 years. Our WOWs in Goal 2 begin with the decentralization of the family engagement model, where instead of a single location, each school now has a full family engagement staff member. The family engagement staff has jumped right in to support families. Having a full team for family engagement has led to support with attendance in COVID-19. To date, the family engagement team has made approximately 969 calls to support students with attendance issues and encourage parents to participate in school-based meetings. The team has checked in with 827 students who have missed school due to COVID sickness or quarantine, and COVID check-ins have included phone calls and sending home care packages and get well cards. The biggest wow to all of this outreach is the positive feedback from families appreciating the genuine care and concern for their children and families. In addition, each family engagement staff member is hosting monthly meetings for grandparents who are in caregiver roles. Workshops have focused on a variety of topics such as estate planning, positive discipline, and social-emotional supports. In 2019, prior to COVID, the Parent-Teacher Resource Center hosted a family fair for Caroline families and community. Currently, the family engagement team is planning a #Engage 2022 Family Connection event, which is scheduled for April 30th from 10 to 1 p.m. at Caroline Middle. This event is sure to appeal to families and empower them to support and connect with their children, especially over the summer months. Wow, that family engagement team has been busy. More wow moments for family and community engagement are from the travels of the Caroline Cruiser, which has visited many businesses, neighborhoods, and school events around the community to share valuable educational resources with families and children, such as social-emotional health, career readiness, college planning, STEM, mental health, safety and well-being, and drug and alcohol use. Another wow moment was the Bowling Green Christmas Parade this past December. The annual event is always festive with large community participation. Annually, the county hosts the Caroline County Agricultural Fair, which is widely attended at a family fun community event. And finally, each of our 5 schools have been adopted by a community church, which has allowed for donations, volunteers, and additional resources. To continue with family and community engagement WOWs, Google surveys were sent out in the new year collecting feedback from our families and staff to gauge the level of home-to-school partnerships for each of our 5 schools. While surveys always reveal areas of opportunity, the wow we learned was most families and staff members perceive our schools as open-door schools in 4 of the 5 categories in the family-school partnership model. This valuable information will anchor our future work as we strive to move towards partnership schools in all 5 of our buildings. Wow, so many wins and opportunities have taken place to support our students, families, and community. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Monroe to share more wow moments.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. And now we travel to Objective 2.2, Student and Staff Relationships, which is all about a growth mindset culture where we develop a learning and working environment where everyone demonstrates empathy, is valued, and respected. We call this in Caroline a sense of belonging. Our wow, wins, and opportunities that created a sense of belonging included creating hubs in our schools to ensure our most at-promise students had access to teaching and learning upon the school closings due to COVID-19, making community bus visits to families to ensure students had what they need during virtual learning. Our building leaders found creative ways to preserve traditions for our seniors, such as outdoor proms and graduations, and weekly curbside swag celebrations to let our students know that we care. The CHS Life Ready Day replaced our traditional Career Day by connecting our Cavaliers with over 80 community partners, businesses, and alumni, and the sharing of opportunities to ensure our students are exposed to work-based learning experiences to be successful in school as well as in life. And currently, we have been rocking and rolling with JA for a Day, where our high school students engage elementary learners in life skills and economic lessons to provide leadership and knowledge that motivates, educates, and inspires our youngest learners to be 3E ready. Additional wows and wins that support student, staff, and community relations include community events such as the Caroline High School Fall Block Party, the addition of school board representatives to allow student voice, choice, and leadership, the partnership and support we have from the Caroline Educational Foundation, which provides grant funding for teachers willing to go above and beyond in creating meaningful and innovative experiences to enhance the required curriculum for their students, and the training that CCPS has done in the area of equity, diversity, and inclusion through a partnership with the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities has promoted and embraced culturally responsive and inclusive practices that enrich the staff and students' knowledge, understanding, and acceptance of the cultural diversity in CCPS that makes us great and unifies us as #OneCaroline. Objective 2.3, Community and Business Partnerships. Our focus is to build relationships that leverage expertise and resources, which result in complementary outcomes for workforce development, community engagement, student achievement, and financial support. With the addition of Kim Young, Communications and Community Engagement Specialist, we have been able to accelerate our build upon success in these areas. We also want to say that big CCPS WOW wins and opportunities is our extensive list of community and business partnerships, which nurture school community relationships that enhance teaching and learning, provide support for youth and families, and promote shared resources and services. There is not enough time this evening to share the plethora and the many opportunities and specific supports provided to the CCPS from our numerous business partners. But we want to thank Habitat for Humanity, MC Dean, Value City, Bowling Green Rehabilitation Center, Caroline's Promise, all of our faith houses that support our schools and employees, Grand Canyon University, Germanna College, Rappahannock Electric, Caroline Branch of the NAACP, Caroline YMCA, Port Royal Museum, Caroline History Society, Friends of the Rappahannock, Fort A.P. Hill, also our Sheriff's Office, and all of the community and business partners that collaborate with CCPS to support our students in being 3E ready as well as life ready. We know it takes the entire village to raise a child, and each of these businesses, civic organizations, and nonprofits supports our schools and the greater Caroline community. From mentorship, summer camps, entrepreneurial opportunities, apprenticeships, to interview skills, job opportunities, the Learn to Swim programs and athletic programs, and after-school partnerships, CCPS is truly blessed with a growing network of collaborators, and tonight, please know that you are greatly appreciated for your many gifts, especially for your gift of time. And for that, we thank you. Stay tuned, as next month's WOW will be health and safety. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Moreau and Mrs. Ross, for our wins, opportunities, and world-class achievements. And while we move to a different section of our agenda, we're going to keep the wow moments moving forward. And I'm going to ask that Ms. Haley would please come forward as we celebrate our awards, recognitions, and commendations. First up, we are going to start with Women's History Month. Mrs. Haley.
Evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fels, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. CCPS celebrates Women's History Month. The 2022 national theme is Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope. Here to bring recognition is Courtney Lander, our CCPS Historical Instructional Specialist.
Thank you, Ms. Haley, and good evening once again. Caroline County Public Schools recognizes March as Women's History Month. The school and greater community celebrate and honor women in our lives, from young girls to the composed yet determined grandmothers. We rise to see the possibilities and goals in our future from their shoulders. We draw strength, grace, and inspiration from their spirit. Throughout the recent years, we reflect in gratitude on the women who, both in public and private life, provide healing and promote hope. Although March is Women's History Month, National Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman conveys the enduring power women have from our ancestors to women driving future progress when she writes, "Speaking the truth in this finest hour, that to their own power every single woman is entitled, but it's how they empower others that makes women voices so vital. To all of the women in our school and greater community lives, thank you."
Thank you. We will now have Dr. Reed come forward in recognition of CTE Month. Dr. Reed?
Good evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. March is Career and Technical Education Month. CTE is part of the culture and fabric of Caroline Public Schools at all levels. At this time, Elizabeth Markwood will highlight the great things that are happening in regards to career and technical education in Caroline County Public Schools.
Good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, member of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. Caroline County Public Schools career and technical education programs provide students grades 5 through 12 with career awareness, exploration, and preparation. During February, CTE was celebrated division-wide with a variety of in-class and extracurricular activities. Several of these events are featured in the slide behind you, hopefully in front of you. Junior Achievement Partnerships. Highlights include the Junior Achievement Partnership, where high school students became JA heroes by teaching fifth graders about CTE programs and career readiness. Middle school eighth grade students visited CHS to explore the CTE opportunities available to them as they transition to high school. FFA members at the middle and high school sponsored a CTE Spirit Week, including boots, flannels, and some furry farmer animal friends. I'm very proud to be part of this outstanding CTE program as we celebrate today and own tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. I'd now like to ask Mr. Wick to please come forward with our SRO appreciation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, the rest of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. School Resource Officer, Appreciation Day is a special day to show appreciation for those who serve our schools, not just as law enforcement officers, but also as law-related educators, role models, and mentors. Tonight, we would like to extend our appreciation to the SROs who work in our schools. SROs provide security, informal counseling, and law enforcement education to our students, as well as the community. Also, SROs are valuable and essential members of the education community who deserve unwavering respect and support in their pursuit of keeping schools and students safe. According to a 2019 Virginia Tech study, SROs spend nearly 60% of their time serving as role models, mentors, and community liaisons. Dedicating their time to building relationships with students, SROs create a supportive environment that positively influences how youth view law enforcement. This is seen in the 2021 Virginia School Survey of Climate and Working Conditions, which revealed that 93.2% of students who have an SRO in their building believe the SRO has a positive impact on the school. CCPS is privileged to have SROs who are proficiently trained and dedicated. Please share your appreciation for the 6 men and women, actually 7, who selflessly serve their schools and community every day with pride and humility. I will start with the SRO of Bowling Green Elementary, which is Officer Wendy Jones. The SROs, please come forward. Next is the SRO at CHS, Officer Manuel Dip. The SRO at CMS cannot be with us tonight. That is Officer Richie Anderson. Please welcome the SRO from LCES, Lewis and Clark. That is Officer Rachel Carty. The SRO from Madison Elementary is Officer Ashley Lippa. We're also going to welcome the two supervisors, Sergeant Chris Hall and Sergeant Benjamin Doucette. CCPS also appreciates the support provided by Sheriff Anthony Lippa, Sergeant Travis Nutter, and Captain Angel Lambert.
Thank you to our SROs. We appreciate your service, and we'd also like to recognize Major Mosier. Thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. At this time, we'd like to call Dr. Calveric to the podium as we celebrate our Superintendent's Art Honor. Dr. Calveric.
Good evening, Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. Exposure to art is critical to the development of every child. Art not only teaches students how to express themselves in creative and individual ways, but students who participate in regular art-related activities perform better academically, develop greater confidence, and sharpen their fine motor skills. Beyond these benefits, art education promotes problem solving, critical thinking, perseverance, growth mindset, collaboration, focus, and accountability. All power skills CCPS graduates need to be 3E ready, enrolled, enlisted, or employed. Our Cavalier art teacher, Miss Katie Boltz, will now introduce the Superintendent's Student Art Honor to student Maggie McCurtain as our March 2022 Art Student of the Month. Miss Boltz.
Hi, good evening. Sadly, Maggie couldn't make it tonight. She's been ill lately, so she couldn't be here with us tonight. Maggie is a freshman who we selected as our Artist of the Month for CHS because she excels in both visual arts and performing arts. Ms. Mello said that Maggie was stellar in the Sound Bites musical that they did in the fall, and that she's a consistent leader on the stage and off the stage in her classes. As we can see in her artwork here, that she challenges herself and thinks critically and deeply about all the art that she makes. This one being titled Depression's Home. You can see that she puts a lot of time and thought into her visuals that she's creating. So thank you.
Dr. Calveric, can you turn the painting around?
We will hold this hostage for approximately 1 month. It'll be on display in the school board office, and we'll make sure it makes its way safely back to Maggie. Very good.
I also wanted to say that we have our countywide art show coming up on April 20th from 5 to 8 in the high school. It'll be all the students involved. It'll be a big back to our normal life.
We've got that 2-year drought of our art show. We're very much looking forward to it. Thank you for being with us.
For those of you who are watching online, that was an announcement of April the 20th from 5 to 8 being the art show. Thank you, Ms. Boltz, Dr. Calveric, and congratulations to our student winner. We will now have Mrs. Haley come forward as we recognize our spelling bee, ChampionS champions.
Champions. Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fels, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. On January 14th, CCPS hosted its annual spelling bee. Top spellers from CMS and our elementary schools included the following: Caden Bartlett, Colton Bassoon, Jaquarius Griffin, Mila Littoral, Caden Johnson, Waylon Varnaw, Farah Waller-Reeves, Olivia Ackerman, Chanel Esco, Zanaya Johnson, Lauren Overman. Are any of those students here? If you are, please stand and be recognized, amazing spellers. They all received certificates at their schools, and congratulations to all the Division Spelling Bee participants, and especially to our CCPS Division runner-up, Zanaya Johnson. She's a student here at CMS, and winner, Chanel Esco, student at LCES, who we recognize tonight. Chanel could not be here. She sends her regrets. However, Zanaya is here. Please come forward, Zanaya. And also on behalf of Chanel, I would like to invite Mrs. Brown, principal, to the podium. Mrs. Brown, to accept her award. It is our esteemed pleasure to acknowledge and celebrate the young ladies, their dedicated effort, and their hard work. We are in awe of your spelling skills and your strength. Chanel Esco went on to compete in the Fredericksburg Regional Spelling Bee that was held on February 26. She not only had an amazing experience, but she did an amazing job. And we salute her. Yes, third place. Let's salute her with third place. And we salute her once again for representing CCPS, competing with such strength at the regional level. Congratulations again, Chanel and Zanaya. Fantastic. Outstanding.
Congratulations again.
Stay down here. Let's go.
We will now have Dr. Monroe and Mr. Heiser please come forward, the athletic director at Caroline High School, for our winter sports individual and team recognitions.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fels, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is truly an honor to recognize our winter student athletes and dedicated coaches this evening. But before we go any further, it would not be possible without the parents and grandparents and extended family members that support these young student athletes. So can we give all of the parents, grandparents, and extended family a big round of applause this evening? Also would like to give big thanks to Mr. Paul Heiser, our student activities director, for finding ways to keep our students mentally and physically engaged and connected to their sport, coaches, and mentors, in spite of the many challenges faced over this year. CCPS athletic programs have not only survived, but have continued to thrive, and tonight, Mr. Heiser will be recognizing these superstars. Mr. Heiser, please come to the podium.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Moreau. We're going to go ahead and get started with wrestling, but I'd just like to thank all of the coaches and athletes for their patience throughout the winter. Great effort. We had a pile of inclement weather days. At the drop of a hat, you guys could have been shut down for a couple weeks due to COVID, practicing through winter break. So regardless of the circumstances, you guys continued to move forward. So great job. With wrestling, we have head coach Steve Swanton, who is present here tonight. George Honeycutt is not present. And we will first honor Malik Tunstall. Malik, if you can please come forward. And all athletes, please come forward when we call your name. Malik was first place in Region 3B in the 220-pound weight division, and he also was fourth place in the state for Group 3. So congratulations, Malik. Next, we have Shane Shirley. Shane was your Battlefield District champion at 182 pounds and also finished third place in the state for Group 3. Congratulations to both wrestlers. Mr. Jess, if you can please join us for photos. All right, next we have track and field. Head coach Sansbury Harvey, Larry Lewis, Coach Milton Bunch, and I saw Coach Tillman somewhere back there. We'll do ladies first. We'll start with Jaden Ferguson. Jaden was your region champion in the 55-meter dash and second place in the region in both the long jump and the triple jump. Congratulations. Next, we have Anton Jones. He is your Region 3B 1,000-meter champion. The fastest male in the Battlefield District, Isaiah Reed, your 55-meter dash champion. Our 4x8 relay team that consisted of Anton Jones, Tayshawn Griffith, Gavin Jones, and Trayshawn Williams. And in just our first year in the new Region 3B, they broke the region record in the first meet. Also honoring our 4x4 relay team, Will Carter. I know Will plays baseball, he may not be here. Anton Jones, once again. Baylor Stork, also a baseball player, and Tayshawn Griffith. Any coaches in attendance, please come forward for the photos.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to interrupt just a second. If we can put our hands together for Coach Harvey, please. Coach Harvey. We honor you, sir. We'd ask our student athletes if you can hold on just a moment so we can finish with the last two teams, unless you have somewhere you absolutely need to be. Oh, well, you're going to listen to Coach. Good night. Okay, that's fine. You guys celebrate. Yes, sir.
I wanted to congratulate all the winter sport athletes on behalf of the board. I keep track. I keep track of the scores. I keep track of what they do and so forth. And I don't think I've ever been prouder than a bunch of winter sports that we've had this year. I mean, it's just been outstanding. And every time I'd pick up the paper, which was always 2 days late, but still, I could get the stats and everything in there. And I'm not out of school that much to congratulate you, but you can pass this on to the winter sports people. They did a great job, and more so, they just did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Mr. Heiser, you can continue with our awards.
Moving on to the boys basketball coaching staff, Coach Johnson is in attendance, Coach Mickleberry, Coach Newman, I know Coach Ware had to leave, he had a previous engagement, and Coach Courtney. And on the girls staff, Coach Rodney Wilson, I'm not sure if he's here, and Coach Patterson is in attendance. So thank you guys that can make it tonight. We will first start off with our team award, and that is our JV boys basketball team that completed a perfect 18-0 season and is your Battlefield District champions. If members of the team could please come forward. Members of the team, please come forward. Coach Johnson, if you could join us. All right, individually, we had a couple of standouts. We had first Jay Freeman. Jay was a first-team All-Battlefield District and a first-team All-Region selection. And our girls basketball team also had a first-team All-Battlefield District performer, Janiyah Pickett. All right, in swimming, we had a special recognition. Both Hales, no relation, Bethany and Heather, did a great job coaching this year. We had our first state qualifier, and that is Addison Muhlenkamp, and she qualified in the 100-meter backstroke this year as our first VHSL state qualifier in swim history. So if Addison could please come forward.
Thank you, Dr. Monroe and Mr. Heiser, and congratulations to all of our students, our staff, coaches, and parents. The Caroline County School Board is exceptionally proud of you, and I just took a couple of notes. So the best in the region in terms of wrestling, we got the fastest runner. We're breaking records in the relay, basketball champions, undefeated. Swim state qualifier for Women's History Month. I think that is awesome. And so we are super excited about that. We will now, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made by Mr. Kelly, second by Mr. Copeland. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move on to information from the district. I'd ask that Ms. Haley and Dr. Reed please come forward and provide an update on the CCPS Library Media Centers.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calvera. Been discussed in our school community, specifically in relation to programming, resources, and funding sources. This evening, Dr. Reed and I will provide a high-level overview of the role of a modern school library, media center funding sources, and program successes. Role of a modern school library. The Virginia Department of Education states, a library media center is an essential component in supporting each school's instructional program. The Library Media Center provides a variety of learning and teaching resources supporting academic standards, information literacy skills, and general interest topics for students. Our libraries have maintained pace with modern times, and the role of the traditional librarian has evolved greatly. A certified school librarian tracks hallmarks of an effective school library, such as A, resources and policies that ensure equitable access to highly qualified school librarians and support personnel. B, carefully selected and organized collections of physical and digital materials and learning assets. C, flexible, up-to-date, barrier-free facilities, appropriate technology. And D, learning opportunities for school community members with diverse cultural, linguistic, financial, and learning differences. Specific to CCPS, our media specialists incur a range of responsibilities from the elementary to secondary level, and in honor of the upcoming National Library Week, April 3rd through 9th, we shine light on their work that have provided our library hubs. They have provided our library hubs and beyond. At the elementary level, media specialists work alongside and plan lessons with our innovative specialists, assist teachers with curriculum development, align lessons to the SOLs, and gather resources for teachers, support students with research projects, and integrate the cross-curricular content into their lessons. They also manage book fairs, hold maker spaces for students to have experiences with STEM projects, and help coordinate literacy nights and the One Book, One School project annually. At one of our schools, the media specialist pushes into the classrooms to support all learners with remediation and enrichment instruction and sponsors an after-school club. These amazing ladies I have just described are Jillian Hupopola of BGE, Erin Fisher of LCES, and Emily Corman of Madison MES. At CMS, Mrs. Barlow hosts reading clubs for teachers and students. She also hosts family game nights and themed events to support literacy, works with co-teachers with all contents, holds writing conferences, and remediates students with the English department. Now, that's just to name a few. At Caroline High School, media specialists Mrs. Klein and Ms. Kelly work to support research projects and self-directed learning. Our HS media specialists, high school media specialists play a vital role in ensuring that our learners have access to resources, and they serve as guides to our modern high school media center. Furthermore, they are instrumental in leading the Beta and Y Street community service organizations. We celebrate their vast roles and work which aligns seamlessly with the modern library objectives. Today's Modern Media Center focuses on three main objectives. First, our media specialists are focused on teaching and learning and supporting all content areas. For instance, media specialists play an integral role in supporting English teachers with reading objectives. Second, our media specialists place heavy emphasis on research and gathering information. And as we work to develop independent learners, our media specialists teach our students how to gather and synthesize sources for individual projects. Finally, media specialists make technology accessible to students and work to develop digital information literacy skills. Dr. Reed?
Good evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. I will now talk about multiple funding sources for our media centers. Our media specialists and media centers receive funding from three critical areas. The most prominent source of funding includes the school operating budget. This year, $159,046.15 was allocated to the 5 schools on a per-pupil basis to support instructional and supplemental activities. At the same time, our media centers are fiscally supported by donations, grants, and fundraisers. Our media specialists are resourceful and connected with individuals, donors, CHOOS, and other organizations for donations to support special projects. In addition, each library sponsors an annual book fair which generates cash profit for library funds and scholastic dollars to be used to purchase books and supplies. In some cases, our elementary schools generate a lot of excitement, which leads to higher sales and more reasonable profits due to promotions, trinkets, and the eagerness for families to have books in the hands of their young readers. The goal of our librarian media specialists has been to change the image of the modern school library into an extension of every classroom, making meaningful conversations and bringing focus to instruction in addition to telling stories and sharing the love of reading. Media specialists contribute to the school beyond the media center. For example, Ms. Barlow serves as the virtual Virginia liaison and leads a PLC Plus professional learning community initiative here at CMS. As previously mentioned, Ms. Klein has been a longtime sponsor of the Beta Club, and her teams have been identified as champions in several state and national competitions. Circulations in our libraries varied during emergency and virtual learning. We are happy to see students checking out more books and digital resources. During emergency and virtual learning, our media specialists were determined to keep book circulation going. They created online libraries and storage bins outside of their buildings for families to use throughout that time. Elementary media specialists also promote and coordinate the Richmond Flying Squirrels book program. This past fall, they also partnered with businesses in the town of Bowling Green to host a storybook walk for students and families. Families were able to stroll downtown Bowling Green and read the story Pete and the Cat Falling into Autumn, posted in the storefront windows. Our media specialists provide services, support continued circulation of books, and promote programs from our schools. We are grateful for all library media services in Caroline County Public Schools and thank our media specialists for the integral part they play in helping our students become lifelong readers. At this time, we can answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, thank you for the thorough presentation, and we acknowledge our librarians. I now ask that Ms. Foster please come forward as we discuss the classroom coverage compensation update.
Good evening, Madam Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight, I will be providing our monthly update associated with compensation for classroom coverage for unfilled positions, which allows for supervision and safety for our students while they learn. Tonight's information will meet the following objectives. I will provide an overview of data associated with compensation, provide an update on available ESSER funds, and provide information associated with compensation for classroom coverage through our last pay cycle ending February 12th, 2022. Before I review money spent, I want to provide you with numbers associated with unfilled teacher and para positions from the past 5 months. During October, there were 290 unfilled vacancies, November 319, December 187, January 284, and February 256. Compensation associated with classroom coverage for our pay periods resulting in the following. My apologies for stumbling on my words. Again, I needed my glasses this evening and I enlarged the font. January 9th through February 12th was $5,872.46. February 16th through March 12th, $20,184.74. In our February school board meeting, I communicated that 34% of our allocated funds were expended, and as you will see on our next slide, this has increased to 47% of the funds. Compensation associated with classroom coverage to provide supervision and support for these unfilled vacancies has been, as you can see, beginning in October, we began with $200,000. As of the February pay cycle ending February 12th, there were $105,853.36 remaining, with 4 pay cycles in our calendar, or 47% of our allocated funds being expended. Breaking that down by total numbers of days taught or us needing compensation, to date, we have had 57 days in the pay periods on this chart, with 53 school days in the remaining pay periods. So about 50% has been spent, and we have about 53 more school days ahead of us that we are going to revisit compensation. And again, those are pay periods, not months. Based upon submitted timesheets, we have $105,853.36 remaining in ESSER monies. As seen in earlier slides, this does not account for timesheets that were submitted from mid-February to date. Based upon current financials, we will continue to maintain the current rate for compensation while seeking to secure additional ESSER funds if needed to support future needs for the remainder of this school year. At this time, do you have any questions? And I look forward to bringing you an update without stumbling next month.
That is quite all right. Are there any questions? Okay. Hearing none, thank you for the thorough report and update, and we'll look forward to your presentation next month as we continue to monitor this.
Thank you.
Mr. Wick, I'd ask you to come forward with our monthly COVID-19 update.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, the rest of the board, and Dr. Calveric. This evening, I will provide you with our monthly COVID-19 update for Caroline County and CCPS. Tonight, we will review COVID data, the updated indicators as provided by the CDC, school vaccine percentages, and legislation. Let's look at our COVID-19 data. As of today, CCPS has experienced a total of 819, I don't know if I added that right, actually. Positive cases with 688, that should say, of those being students and 132 staff. Last month at the last meeting, we had 614 students and 120 staff. So that's probably the lowest increase we've had in a long, long time. You can see the breakdown by school and school board office with IT, maintenance, and transportation included in the latter category. Regarding quarantines, also including today's numbers, CCPS has 2,401 quarantines. Last month we had 2,346, with only 32 of those being staff. Last month it was 29 staff, so our close contacts and our quarantines have also reduced dramatically since last month. Looking at our primary indicators, now these were the original primary indicators, which are no longer really used, but I just wanted to review them with you. Our PCR positive tests as of March 11th, which is the latest date for which the CDC has provided data, is 7.9. It was 25.0 last month, and yesterday it was actually 3.9. So it went up a little bit from March 10th to March 11th. This is in the moderate transmission or yellow category. As mentioned, the CDC no longer uses this to determine the transmission level in a county, though it still provides the information on its website. As of today, our cases per 100,000 is 123.8. Last month, it was 329.2. This puts Caroline in the low transmission category, the high transmission category. The CDC continues to use this as part of its transmission level decision. More on this on the next slide. It's important to note that that number changes dramatically. 2 days ago, we were 0. So today we're 123.8. And if things go as they have been pattern-wise in a few days, we could be back down into single digits or the teens. So that number changes dramatically from day to day. So although the CDC still uses cases per 100,000, it now looks at 2 new primary indicators, which are on the screen, that place counties in the low, medium, or high range based on fewer or more than 200 cases per 100,000. As seen on the previous slide, Caroline is in the fewer than 200 cases per 100,000 range. You can see both ranges and the 2 new primary indicators on the chart. The section highlighted in light blue is associated with that range that Caroline falls into, which again is below 200 cases per 100,000. The 2 new indicators are, the first one is new COVID-19 hospital admissions per 100,000 over a 7-day period, and the second one is the percent of inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. Again, that is over a 7-day period. So based on our new indicators, the CDC uses the numbers to place counties in the low, medium, or high range. The red circles indicate that Caroline is the low range. So we have fewer than 10 people per 100,000 who are new COVID-19 hospital admissions, and fewer than 10% of inpatient beds are occupied by COVID-19 patients. These numbers are updated by the CDC weekly on Thursday afternoons. This is also a number I cannot calculate, so I have to rely on the CDC for this information. The vaccine update includes the percentage of vaccinated students aged 5 to 18 in Caroline County Public Schools. Since this happened between meetings, I just wanted to let you know that CCPS did host another vaccination clinic on February 28th, with this one being held at Lewis and Clark Elementary. And I was told there was excellent turnout at this clinic. Just as a reminder for the public, vaccines are also available at the Community Vaccination Center in Central Park by appointment at the number and address seen on the screen from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. on Monday through Saturday. Looking at our numbers, this bar graph shows the percentage of fully vaccinated students in blue and those with one dose in green. So our fully vaccinated numbers did increase a decent amount from last month, especially in certain schools. So you can see the numbers there. BGE and CHS are at 44%, CMS at 32%, Lewis and Clark and Madison at 11%, who are fully vaccinated. And the others are in the low single digits as far as having one dose. Legislation updates. We will briefly review legislation and other orders so staff and residents understand the decision-making process by CCPS regarding mask wearing. First, on February 16th, when the governor signed Senate Bill 739 into law, parents were given the option to have their children wear a mask in school. This did not apply to school transportation, as the CDC's public transportation order issued on January 29th, 2021, which applied to school transportation, was issued in response to President Biden's Executive Order 13998, which specifically addressed domestic and international travel. So two different pieces of legislation. Also on February 16th, the Department of Labor and Industry issued a proposal by the Virginia Safety and Health Codes Board to revoke what is called the standard, which places various requirements on employers related to COVID-19, including mandated masking based on CDC guidelines. However, the proposal required a 30-day comment period, which ends on March 19th, as well as a public hearing. Therefore, the standard has not yet been revoked. It is currently just a proposal. That explains why we could not allow staff to be voluntary with mask wearing. On February 24th, the Virginia Senate passed SB 29, which would end mandated masking for employees. However, this bill is attached to the budget, is currently in the House Appropriations Committee, and is far from being signed by the governor. Therefore, it is not yet law. So we had to wait again for something else to occur to end mandated masks for employees, and this occurred on February 25th, when the CDC updated its masking order, which said masking was mandatory only in areas that had a high transmission level. This order updated the January 29, 2021 order previously mentioned, and it applied to both school transportation as well as education settings, including employees. At the time the order was issued, Caroline County was still on the high transmission level, which was based on the old primary indicators, as also previously discussed. On March 3rd, the CDC announced that Caroline County had dropped into the low transmission level, which resulted in CCPS notifying staff and families on the evening of March 3rd that masks were optional on school transportation and in schools for students and staff. I hope you followed all that information. Thank you for your time and attention. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Wick, for our monthly update and for making the public aware of the law and the timelines and the legislation that have guided our decision-making process as a board. I'd ask Mrs. Stevens to please come forward for our monthly update on revenues, expenditures, and ADM.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight I have the ADM and the financial reports, so we'll go over February 22 financials. For our operational revenue, we have $3 million for the month, $30.7 million year-to-date, or 64.74%. For our special funds, our grant funds, we have $578,000 received for the month, $3.2 million year-to-date, or 20.96%. So our revenues are looking strong still at $3.6 million for the month, $33.9 million for the year, or 54.13%. On to our expenditures. For our operational expenditures this month, we're at $4.3 million, or 27.6 million year to date, 58.24%. And our special funds, our grant funds, we expended $1.3 million for the month. We have $4.2 million for the year, or 27.64%. So all to date for our expenditures for this month, we've been rolling pretty good, writing those bills. We're at $5.6 million for the month, $31.8 million for the year, or 50.83 for the percentage. As of today, we receive reports from the county for November. We are balanced with them as of November. We have a few reconciling items that we're working with them for the prior months that we have received. Any questions on the financial report?
Any questions?
Glad to hear that we're closer on reconciliation.
One other financial item I forgot to mention. At Tuesday night's Board of Supervisors meeting on the consent agenda, there was a request to begin negotiations with an auditor for the next 5-year cycle. We are in negotiation process, the county is. I will be working on the negotiation process of the school activity fund audit, and at the time, the company that was brought forward will result in us making a change of auditors for next year. Okay, for the ADM report, we did have a slight increase from January to February, so we moved from 4,069 to 4,071. We're still rolling in with that average of 4,093 for the month. We're about halfway through the month of March, so we'll be reporting March ADM. Hopefully those numbers come very close to our Power School numbers that we are reporting each month. If so, we are budgeted at 4,010. At that point, we would have to come back for an additional appropriation because we will be receiving additional state money. Okay, so fingers crossed. Any questions on the ADM report?
Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
The Caroline County Public School Board will now open our floor for our citizens' comments. Excuse me. It is important to note in managing expectations that the school board members do not respond to public comments during a meeting. To make a comment, you may sign up on the clipboard at the lectern at the base of the stage. When speaking, please provide your name and your voting district. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes. A green, yellow, and red traffic light signal will keep track of your time. The speaker may begin talking when the green light is on. After 2 minutes, the yellow light will turn on, letting you know that you have 1 minute remaining to make any closing statements. The light will turn red at the end of 3 minutes to let you know that you must bring your comments to a close. Speakers may address an item on the school board meeting agenda, or you may address an item not on the agenda during the citizens' comment period. However, all comments should address a matter related to Caroline County Public Schools. We will not hear public comments that involve an individual student-related matter or a personnel matter, because the disclosure of which would violate applicable confidentiality requirements. The school board absolutely expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. You will address your comments to the entire board and not to one individual board member, nor the superintendent, staff member, or anyone else in the audience. Speakers are encouraged to not engage in personal attacks, and you will present your comments from the lectern below. At this time, Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens' comments?
We do. We have Mark Farrow.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. How are you tonight? Yeah, sure I will. Mark Farrow, Madison. superintendent, school board, administration. Thank you for allowing me to come up here. I didn't want to, I apologize. I told my son this would be a quick one. I didn't look at the agenda, so I didn't realize we had so many awards. I just didn't want to miss an opportunity to say thank you again. We came here in 2008 and got involved in the school system in 2010, and I watched all of you, including administration and some of those in the crowd, make a plan, a strategic plan, set out for the pathways, actually accomplish what it is that you all set out to do. And in the meantime, did a stellar job connecting to us as parents and giving us the opportunity to engage in the process. And while doing all that, provided an excellent education for our son. And we could not thank you enough for that. You've given him every opportunity. And on top of that, created statewide champions, just an amazing job. And through it all, he never got sick. We got through COVID, and you did it with class and dignity. We didn't end up in the paper. Everything was run correctly. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you once again, and I appreciate the time. Keep up the good work.
Board comment period? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. We want to exhale and say, whew, because it is a pleasure to bring before you the second read of the proposed 2022-2023 instructional calendar with hopes of final approval this evening. Let's take a final look at the proposed calendar. The full calendar is captured behind you on the screen, with July through December on the left, January through June on the right. I would like to thank Mrs. Haley, the great Director of Elementary Education, for presenting the first read in my absence in February. Thank you, Mrs. Haley. In review of calendar highlights, we are excited to extend the new teacher work week to August 2nd through August 4th by 1 day to allow more time for training, classroom setup, and to better acclimate new hires to the hashtag One Caroline Way. The 1 day extension will also allow new teachers to meet and partner with their teacher mentors 2 out of the 4 days, which we know will provide meaningful collaboration and preparation for an engaging and aligned instructional year. Other highlights include we will kick off with Monday, August the 15th as the first day of school. Also in reference to the September 2nd holiday, all school divisions who have a pre-Labor Day start are mandated to have the Friday before Labor Day weekend as a holiday. A pre-Labor Day start allows our students an early learning opportunity and advantage in preparation for local, state, and national assessments, adjudications, and extracurricular competitions. At the end of each quarter, there are teacher work days to complete grades and report cards, comments, and time for planning, remediation, and enrichment lessons. Our winter holiday will include 3 weekends over a 2-week period, and January 2nd is designated as an employee work day to ensure all systems are a go from food service to maintenance for a successful return of students on January 3rd. Spring break is identified as April 3rd through Monday, April the 10th, being that Monday was added as it follows Easter Sunday. And coming down the home stretch, the last day of school is Thursday, May 25th. Our instructional day for the 2022-23 school year is as follows. Our middle school start time will be 7:25 and dismissed at 2:25. High school start time is 7:30, dismissed at 2:35, and elementary will begin their day at 8:45 and dismissed at 3:30. The benefits of the proposed proposed instructional calendar are as follows. The 175 instructional day calendar will allow us to maintain the shortened school day enacted in 2020-2021 for our elementary students and meets the state mandates of 990 required teaching hours and the 140 seat hours per course for high school verified credit. Kudos and thank you to all members of the calendar committee for the collaboration in creating an instructional calendar that supports high quality teaching and learning. At this time, I would like to ask the board if they have any questions, and if not, I would like to kindly ask for board approval for the 2022-23 instructional calendar.
I'd like to make a motion that the school board approve the 22-23 calendar with an amendment that the school board approve 12-month employees for the dates of December 19th through 30th and April 3rd through 10th, on condition that someone is monitoring the buildings at those particular times.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second to approve the proposed calendar with the addition of 12-month employees having off with what equates to the Christmas break and spring break. Is there any discussion on that? Okay. Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Spalding? Aye. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor? Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The calendar is approved. We will now move to our new business. We have several items for consideration this evening. I'd ask that Mr. Wick please come forward with the first read of the Albuterol policy.
This policy, following Virginia Code 22.1-274.2, requires schools to possess and administer undesignated stock albuterol, metered dose inhalers, and valved holding chambers. The legislation requires nurses and backup nurses who administer albuterol to be trained annually, and it provides requirements for procurement, storage, administration, and post-administration of the medication.
Are there any questions about this policy? This is the first read. Okay. Does there appear to be any questions about that?
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Foster, would you please come forward with our first read of GBMA, Support Staff Grievance Procedures?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening once again, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight I bring to you a first read associated with policy update, specifically policy GBMA, Support Staff Grievances. Tonight's recommended policy revision is associated with GBMA, Support Staff Grievances. The revision of this policy can be found as a draft in board docs containing additions and deletions to include changes in vocabulary, definitions, order, and procedure recommended by VSBA and our school board attorney. I look forward to coming before you next month requesting for approval of this policy, GBMA, Support Staff Grievances. At this time, do you have any questions?
Seeing none, we'll see you next month for our approval. Thank you. Dr. Monroe, VSBA February 2022 policies.
All righty. Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is that time of year to enter the season of policy review. All the policies that I will share with you tonight are uploaded to board docs in draft mode for your review. The Virginia School Board Association provides updates in February and May for each year that are based on changes in laws and regulations. In addition, a few policies are revised for editorial reasons or to correct technical errors. In the following presentation, we have the policies that are currently being revised and or reviewed by Caroline County Public Schools. Tonight, we are providing the first read, and in April, we will ask for the adoption of the revised policies. Policies that will be updated include Policy BB, School Board Legal Status. Policy BBA, School Board Member Authority. Policy BCB, School Board Officers. Policy BCC, School Board Clerk. Policy BCE, School Board Committees. Policy BDB, Special School Board Meetings. Policy BDC, Closed Meetings. Policy BDDA, Notifications of Meetings. Policy BDDF, Voting Method. Policy BF, Board Policy Manual. Policy BFC, Policy Adoption. Policy BHB, School Board Member in Service Activities. Policy CBCA, Disclosure Statement Required of Superintendent. Policy CF, School Building Administration. Policy EBBB, Personnel Training, Viral Infections. Policy EEA, Student Transportation Services. Policy GBEH, COVID-19 vaccinations. Policy GBI, Staff Gifts and Solicitations. Policy GBM, Professional Staff Grievances. Policy GBMA, Support Staff Grievances. Policy IGBA, Programs for Students with Disabilities. Policy IGBB, Programs for Gifted Students. Policy IGDA, Student Organizations. Policy JJAF, Student Athlete Sudden Cardiac Arrest. That is a new policy. Policy JM, Restraint and Seclusion of Students. Policy KGA, Sales and Solicitations in Schools. Policy KKA, Service Animals in Public Schools. Policy KNB, Reports of Missing Children. Policies reviewed but not revised are Policy BBE, Unexpired Term Fulfillment, GCQB, Staff Research and Publishing, Options 1 and 2, and JHC, Student Health Services. Thank you for your time and attention to our VSBA policies first read. Please refer to board docs to review all changes in draft mode. We will return in April for approval of all revised and reviewed policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Monroe. I'd ask that Ms. Beth Markwood please come forward with the CCPS Perkins grant proposal.
Good evening again. Dr. Rollins Fells, member of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. Caroline County Public Schools will be submitting an application for the Perkins Grant for Career and Technical Education. The 2022-23 grant application has been created using the 21-22 grant fund allocations in the amount of $80,993.12. Perkins funding supports instructional materials and equipment for students, teachers, professional development, and student and teacher certifications and credentialing. The grant application will be submitted by April 29th, 2022. As we work strategically to prepare for the 2022-23 school year, we will ask for approval of the final application at the April school board meeting. This evening, I'm happy to answer questions regarding the application and funding.
Any questions? Ms. Mark, while you're here, thank you for the work that you're doing with CTE. And when you come back, I would appreciate an update on the process for requesting funds and the utilization of funds.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd ask Dr. Paige Carter to please come forward with the first read of the IDEA flow through funds annual plan.
Good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Mr. Kelly, and members of the board. Tonight you have before you a hard copy of for first read of the Special Education Annual Plan. This plan is a required component of receiving funds associated with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. These are federal funds that support the implementation of special education. Tonight I'll present to you for first read information regarding IDEA Part B flow-through funding application for the 22-23 school year. The information I will share is a required component of the grant as well. For a quick bit of context, I'll briefly describe the required components for this application. Local policies and procedures must be in compliance with the most recent revisions of IDEA as well as VDOE requirements for special education. School divisions are also required to demonstrate maintenance of effort, or MOE, which requires school divisions to spend at least the same amount of local or local plus state dollars for a current school year on the delivery of special education and related services as were spent from the same source for the preceding fiscal year. The purpose of the federal requirement for excess cost calculation is to enable local education agencies to determine the amount of regular education funds expended on the basic education of its students with disabilities. An LEA meets the requirements for excess cost if it has spent at least a minimum amount for the education of its children with disabilities before these grant funds are used. Lastly, school divisions must spend a proportionate amount of the award in sections 611 and 619 of this award on providing special education and related services to homeschooled or parentally placed private school students with disabilities. We have met all 4 of these requirements. The current draft of our application includes Part B, section 611, which is for K-12. That allocation is $974,587. And again, same as last year, that covers 12 special education teachers and 1 behavior specialist. Part C, section 619, early childhood special education, that amount is $19,238, which covers part of a teacher and a stipend for the ECSE coordinator. The total amount of this grant is based on a formula that considers historical federal funding, total school enrollment, and poverty level, and usually comes out in full in June or July. These are estimates. The proportionate set-aside requirement for this year is projected to be $35,830.40. These funds, again, are set aside for parentally placed or homeschooled students who reside in Caroline County. Okay. Important factors for consideration. Some important information for consideration of this grant is that IDEA federal funding is still approximately 15% of the cost for special education on average. Initially, the commitment was 40%. There is currently a proposed funding at the federal level for an increase for funds for IDEA the first time in a long time. Hopefully, we'll see an increase in the coming years. Our grant is used to fund special education personnel. Actual costs for these positions noted in the grant have exceeded projections for several years, but funds from previous years have covered the difference. These funds, as years go by without an increase in federal funding, fewer funds will be able to be carried over each year. As a result, for planning purposes, 1 or more positions may need to move off of the IDEA grant and will need to identify an alternative funding source for those. I feel like it's the same song, second verse, just like last year, but all required components. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. I just love the format that you are presenting this in because it's very easy for us to follow because in past years, not really related to you, we have had so much to go through and it wasn't laid out, and I appreciate this so much. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Dr. Monroe, would you please come forward with our first read of the student fee schedule?
Great evening again, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Policy Regulation JN-R, student fees, fines, and charges, has been reviewed and updated for the 2022-2023 school year, and revisions and additions will be shared this evening for first read. The Caroline County Public School team appreciates the board's review with hopes that the fees for Policy JN-R will be approved upon second read in April. Once approved, the updated student fees will be shared with all students, families, and community via online platforms, through social media, and hard copy at each CCPS facility. Behind you this evening are a list of fees for the 2022-23 school year. The list begins with elementary and middle school fees, followed by Caroline High School fees. Core content area fees, class dues, and elementary fees will remain the same as they were for the 2021-2022 school year. As we move to the next slide, it is a detailed list of fine arts and CTE fees that have been adjusted or revised or added, with costs related included, as well as aligned to the courses that have been reinstated for the 2022-2023 school year. Fine arts include all art classes, band, strings, orchestra, and photography 1 and 2. This year, there will be a $10 charge for chorus to cover the technology portion of the program. CTE fees include cosmetology, culinary, health and medical science, economics and personal finance, sports medicine, criminal justice, and our CNA classes. Carpentry will have a $25 fee to cover the increased cost of materials. Culinary 1 has a $15 increase in cost, as all students will now be required to wear a chef's jacket to display professional dress when participating actively in class and during catering events. Medical science will also have a fee increase of $5 to offset materials, and this also includes the medical science shirt to have uniformity when on duty at events, and the same is true for sports medicine. Business marketing, marketing, and entrepreneurship all have a $10 fee this year to offset consumables and materials needed for class. As we move to the next slide, the VDOE board's regulations explicitly state that local school boards shall not charge fees for instructional programs and activities or materials required for instruction, except as specified in subsection H, which outlines select fees for optional extracurricular programs or supplementary resources, which were listed on the previous 2 slides. The VDOE also recognizes the incredible effort and cost local school divisions have sustained in order to expand access to devices for their students. However, because of the substantive shift in how core and required instruction is being delivered, computers and devices now fall squarely within the category of items for which divisions may not charge. However, school divisions may assess a reasonable fee for lost or damaged textbooks and other school property, including electronic devices that have been provided to students without charge. In addition, the Supervisor of Technology and Innovation and I will be revisiting our acceptable use of technology requirements and policy to ensure students and families have a clear understanding of the proper use and care of all technology and related devices. So at this time, are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? I do have a clarifying question. Repeat course, this is on the CTE schedule, 225. Is that the credentials when students can earn? Or is that for the college courses? I'm not sure what that is.
It's on the second slide.
Correct. If you can find out and get back with me.
I'm going to
It's
write
on the
myself a note.
CTE schedule that starts with carpentry, and it's the last one on the list. Repeat
Got it.
course, 225. Just what is that?
Let me inquire, because I want to make sure I give you a very specific and clear answer on that. May I reply to you in an email?
Yes.
Okay.
That will suffice. And then our board practice is that is shared out with all board members so that we're all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Monroe.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll open the floor for board committee reports and comments. I'll start to my right, as I generally do. Calvin Taylor, any board comments or committee reports?
Madam Chair, I don't have a committee report this month, but I will have one next month. I will say that the committee is meeting as it has been, and they're progressing, but I had a conflict at the last meeting, so I was unable to attend, but I will report next month. And the only comment I have, I just want to again congratulate the athletes for all of the accolades, or give them accolades for the winnings in the various contests. I think it's we're very proud of them, and we don't get a chance enough to give honor to our students. And so I think that tonight's program the recognition was very good, and would just like to add my congratulations as well. And the only other thing is to the gentleman, even though he's not here, I thought that was just excellent. We don't get a lot of comments up here, and we're not really here for comments, but it's good to have someone to come and acknowledge the successes that are part of the system, and to give not only the board, but certainly the staff and all of us who work together. So I thought that was good, and I appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Copeland?
I don't have any comments, but I'll make two board reports for committee meetings. I'm on Commonwealth Governor's School and for Chesapeake Bay Governor's School. I was sick for the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School meeting, so I missed that. Our CGS, Commonwealth Governor's School, we had to postpone two times because we couldn't have a quorum, couldn't get a hold of the individuals. So third meeting was a charm. We finally elected a chair and a vice chair and got that sorted out and paid bills and closed the meeting. That was about all we could get done with that. And that's all I have, ma'am.
Sound like a productive meeting. Mr. Spalding.
Excuse me. I just have one comment. I want to apologize for interrupting the recognition down there. I just wanted to say something before these kids got out of here, that we don't wait till the end of the year and say, oh, you did this, you did that. We followed them what best we could, either watching them play or reading the newspaper or whatever, you know. And I always tried to keep up with the kids and all, you know. I don't know them by face or anything anymore, but it does me good. It's just like my neighbor, what's his name? The Stork Boy. I see him all the time and play catch with him out there in the summer and so forth. I didn't even know he ran track. And I saw his name in the paper one day, and I asked Elizabeth, I said, there's only storks I know in his family. He said, what is his name, Bryson? Baylor. I knew it was some B something. He said, that's Baylor. I said, Baylor is a track person? Yeah. And I started really looking close, and he qualified a couple times in the 55, 50 hurdles. And, so I'd like to let them know, and like I said, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to let them know that we just didn't say at the end of the season, say, oh, you did a good job, so forth. Because this way, when I see them on the street or in the neighborhood or whatever, I can say something to them, That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Kelly?
A report from the Athletic Advisory Committee with Mr. Heiser. We went over, hopefully we were able to be introduced to the new middle school activities director, which was nice, to get him involved with some of the stuff that's going on. We talked about growing the programs at the grassroots level at the elementary school. I thank Mr. Caldwell for showing up, because that's always great to have like your knowledge and experience when we're sitting there and talking about how we're going to win the Super Bowl, and how you tell us, well, you're going to need a field to play on, you need a building to practice in. Those are good things to know. I went to Rising 9th grade night, and I just wanted to say, I know Mr. just left, but that was the best I've ever seen the high school look that night. It was absolutely fantastic. So great job to Mr. Just and the entire staff, the custodial staff, and everybody. Everything was just wonderful to walk through and watch my son just do this number looking around, because everything's so much bigger over there. Spring sports have started, and that is just, I'm glad we can get back outside and get back together again. I have truly missed that. Marcia, thanks. I just, the more I talk to you and get an understanding, the more I just get lost sometimes. I can never repeat what you say to me, but I understand it, so thank you for when I ask all the silly questions. Beth Hauser, testing season. That's enough of that, right? I know you're probably swamped right now, but I appreciate the work that you do of keeping everything together, and I know the reports are going to come and everything, but I know it's stressful, but thank you for that. And Coach Bethany Hale and Coach Heather Hale got the first student athlete in school history to qualify for states. We are losing 10 seniors off of that team, so I hope that we can get more kids to come out. It is a great group of students. We had our awards recognitions on Friday evening, and it was great. Lots of tears, lots of hugs, but it was wonderful for everybody involved, just to watch that grow from when we only had like 6 kids in the program not that many years ago to actually have a fairly competitive team now. It's nice. That concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Carson?
I have a couple of comments, and our strategic plan committee has not met. We're waiting to get all of the input that we've put in organized, and soon we'll be meeting again, waiting to get that going. I wanted to say thank you. A lot of us went on a facilities tour of our buildings and grounds, and it was a wonderful tour. Nice to see all the updates and things that have been done. And then following that, we attended a program, Call Me Mister, at the high school, which was an excellent program, recruiting young men to come to Longwood and see what it's like and get into education and come back to the county they're from. And hopefully some of our young men will, they were 9th and 10th graders, will be interested enough in going to see them for a week this summer. We had our Eastern Regional meeting, and Dr. Calveric was one of our speakers, and Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells is the president of the Eastern Regional group, and she did an excellent job, and we looked good, and it was a good meeting. Dr. Seuss Day, a lot of us, when we had the facilities tours, were able to come and read to the students. I read at Bowling Green and Madison, and it was a great day. And then I had a privilege of attending the National Honor Society at the high school, and that is a very moving experience to see 21 young people inducted at one night. And it just made you feel good that we have such scholars in our midst. So thank you. Those are all my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Swanton?
As for events in the life of our students right now, today was the first school day of the 4th quarter. We have one more left to go. This past Saturday, students did their participated in SAT testing. With athletics, I once again want to extend a congratulations to all winter sports athletes, and also
Thank you so much for the updates from the student perspective. So I will conclude with my comments and board updates. As Mrs. Carson said, we did have our Eastern Region meeting for the Virginia School Board Association, which is a collection of 15 different school districts. I want to publicly thank Dr. Sarah Calverick, Dr. Carol Carter from King and Queen, and Dr. Harry Thomas from Essex for collaborating and bringing to the entire region different ideas on impactful and innovative uses of our CARES funds. On February the 10th, I did attend the CMS Town Hall, and I want to say thank you to the principal here for a stellar, transparent, professional, and empowering session. Not only did we talk about the realities of the current state, but I love how you all facilitated that to get the community involved with parent suggestions. I thought that was excellent in terms of execution and meaningful. We had a joint board meeting with the Caroline County Board of Supervisors, and in that meeting, we focused on the financials. I know that a lot of times the public and everyone in this room is very familiar with the process in budget season as we collaborate and work together. And with that, I want to say a special thank you to Marcia Stevens and to Dr. Calverick. I think that most people don't realize all the nuances and all the puzzle pieces that go into proposing a budget on projections that change and legislation that is not yet final. And yet and still you keep us up to date with it, you keep us abreast, you report the trends, and you consistently put this board in a position where we can make informed decisions. I have been advocating for a real long time that before I end my tenure in service on the school board, I would love to see a fully funded school budget. And there has been smart execution and utilization of funds. And so thank you. It is my hope, fingers and toes crossed, that everything is approved that we want in Richmond, and that we can continue to collaborate with the county. And this upcoming year just may be the year where we can have a fully funded budget. That leads me into my last thank you, and that is to Dr. Carter, Mrs. Ross, federal programs, SPED, and those of you who are filling out those grant applications and finding us additional funds. We are doing our due diligence, and so I'll put our staff up, our board up, our athletes up, and our students up against anyone to say that Caroline County is the place to be as we move forward. #OneCaroline. Thank you so much for your service, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Calverick, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins-Fells. We're excited to host the Board of Supervisors, the County Building Inspector, school board members, players, families, and guests to the CHS softball field ribbon cutting tomorrow at 4:50 at the high school. We're grateful for this partnership with the county and are thrilled to cheer the varsity Cavaliers on in their first game of the season on our newly renovated field. The 2022-23 grades 3 through 5 virtual learning interest survey closes tomorrow at 6 p.m. Again, if you are interested in having your student participate in virtual learning next year, please be sure to complete the form, which has been disseminated in a number of manners such as email, Facebook, school messenger, and is also located on the CCPS webpage. Do you have a high schooler? If yes, consider visiting the CHS College Night on Wednesday from 5:30 to 7:30. If the 3E of enrollment is of interest to your student, there's no time too early to begin learning and planning for a 2 or 4 year college experience. This Saturday and this coming Saturday, our secondary Destination Imagination teams will compete in the regional competition held at Atlee High School. Best of luck, and thank you to gifted specialist Nikki Kiger for helping support this creative problem-solving program. The week of March 21st, CCPS is celebrating STEM in grades K through 8. Each elementary and middle school will be hosting a STEM fair, so be sure to come out and celebrate science, technology, engineering, and math in our schools. And finally, spring break is around the corner. The school division will be closed between April 4th and the 8th. Rest, relax, and rejuvenate. At this time, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just reiterating, if you are interested in virtual instruction, the window is open. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session, for the purpose of the superintendent's personnel agenda, for the discussion of VSBA business honor roll nominations, appointments, temporary appointments, reassignments, resignations, dismissals, reclassifications, voluntary transfers, requests for family medical leave, stipends, coaches, position title changes as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A, subsection 1 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
So moved.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Carson. The second has been provided by Mr. Copeland. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Copeland? Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. We will now go into closed session. Thank you for those attending in person and those watching online.